Hello, my name is Doris Fiebig and this is a tutorial from sculpting.com. In this tutorial I will show how we can sculpt an ear. As for the other tutorials, I like to show first an example cube of ears. So, or let's make it larger, full screen. And so here I made a cube with 4 ears. This is a stylized ear where we see the essential parts most easily. And these other 3 ears are portrait ears. So these are ears of real people. And we see these ears are quite different. And we first want to see what is common in each and what do we need to know to sculpt them correctly. The first thing is the underlying material, what we need to know. The upper part of each ear, about this region here, consists of cartilage, and the lower part here consists of tissue and fat. So the upper part has to be sculpted a little with a little more harder edges, and here the lower part has to be sculpted with softer edges. Now let's go through these ears and start with the stylized one, and we want to see what is common in each. We see in each ear this kind of C shape here. This is a helix. We have this in each ear. Here its shape is a little different, but essentially the same. Okay, so now why is this not on the grease pencil? But it should stick on the surface. Okay. So the next part we see in each ear is this shape here in the middle, this, and here it forms kind of a Y. So if I connect these here, we see this is like the letter Y bend. And we see this also in each ear. Here it's very oddly shaped, not the same but similar. And here it's very hard edged, and here this part of the Y is almost not visible. But it is an indication is there. If I turn the cube a little, we see the light changing here. So the next what we want to see is here's the tragus. This is, and it covers the concha. Oh, concha is actually this part here, all this. And we have this in every ear. Here is very small tragus. Concha is quite of deformed. And here also concha, and the region concha is also quite deformed. This is more how most ears are, concha and tragus. Then here in each ear is a notch, as we see. And finally in each ear here, tissue and fat is the earlobe. So we see these 5 parts are in every ear, but the form may change dramatically. Okay, so what do we need to know more? When we look from an ear from behind, make another grease pencil, new and surface. Okay, this is a stylized ear which shows it very clearly. The ear is not flat against the side of the head, so we pretend that the cube face here is the side of the head. The ear is shaped, here's a kind of an S shape. And it's, when we look from top, we see an angle here to the side of the face of about 30 degrees. And we can see this in the other ears too. So the ear is not flat against the head, but has an angle about 30 degrees, and seeing it from back, we see an S shape. And we see this in the other ones too. This is here of a very old lady, more than 80 years. This one here is of a very old man, and we see very strongly this S shape. And this is from a younger man. And here the S shape is not so pronounced, but when I draw here, we see it a little, not much. But we see this 30-degree angle. And the ear is okay, so that's the main things. And what we have also in each ear, what we need to sculpt correctly, and we see so many examples where it's not sculpted correct. The ear is not straight. It's not the line here at the front. We see an angle. So this is about 30 degrees here, more or less. So let's see. This is the old lady. We see when I draw in this line, we see it's also this 30 degrees. This is the old man. Here we don't see that too much, but a little. But the earlobe goes behind this line. So maybe I should draw it, like this, and it's more 15 degrees or something. But it is slanted backwards. And this is from the younger man, and again we see this angle. So these are the parts we have to create properly. And so we want to sculpt it into this cube. So we prepare the cube for sculpting by going into edit mode, subdivide a few times, something like that. Now we don't need this anymore. And we jump into Sculpt mode. As you know, my favorite brush is a clay strips brush, and I have today used the rectangular curve instead of the round curve here, because I like that it sculpts smoother. So in the beginning we take a large strength, and we enable now dynamic topology, and for the start we do something like 20. And we don't need symmetry or something like that. So now we are ready to sculpt our ear. So the first thing is, when you start out, it's easier when you draw first what you will need to have. And I draw with a crease brush. So I draw first my 30-degree line. Oh, it's too much. It's something like that. And let's take the stylized one as a reference. And I draw in the main shapes. The helix, something like that. Something like that. And here is tragus and notch, and around here is earlobe. So now we have the outline about, and the next step can be that we erase the ear from the surface, and we can do it with twist tool and rotate it. I prefer to raise the areas with the clay strips brush, and we rotate and see it takes a while, so let's make it this way. It goes much quicker if we look here. A little raise in the, yes, something like that. And now we enable again this. And now I fill in this, and in this way I have created already the angle of the, maybe we need a little more of the ear and the main shape. I lost a little here, so add. See, as with the other tutorials, it's always sculpt something, look if it's correct, and immediately try to correct it. So I see I lost the shape here a little, so I take my snake hook brush, make it a little larger, and pull up this a little to match more the shape here. And we push this in to get this little indent here. Okay, so the next step is to create more details. So we want to indicate now the helix part. So that's about here. And as we have seen in these examples, since the ears come in all kinds of shapes, and some are really odd, like we have seen here in this old man's ear, really odd shape, but the main parts, 5 parts are there. And so we know in each ear we sculpt, we only need to care about getting the main shapes correct, but we have a lot of freedom to do so. Okay, so earlobe, tragus here, and the notch, and so we now this is lower. Oops, yes, it goes under, so we sculpt inwards. Well, let's first go in with the draw brush because it cuts in deeper, more quickly. And now we go in with our clay strips brush and just deepen. In the beginning it looks a little odd. That's fine. Always with sculpting in the beginning we need to be brave and trust that when we keep going it will eventually turn out right. So okay, so this and now I define already the contour. So also this last part here of the helix is going in and deep. So I first don't sculpt it, but deepen all this area here. And now you see that the Y shape is starting to form. Let's make the detail size now a little less so that we can sculpt in more clearly. You see, that is the Y already shaping, and now I erase parts. The Y actually is in many ears coming a little out. Here it's more. So we need to look at the reference always, what is the case in the ear we want to sculpt when we make a little portrait. And so this turns, first we make flats, turns down here, you see it goes down, and here it's flat, and then here it becomes rounded, because in the lower part it goes over into tissue and fat. and we indicate the earlobe a little more clearly. And the border here is again cartilage. It's more or less pronounced. Here's a little bump in most areas, like it indicated here. Okay, so that's the main forms, and now we want to sculpt the backside, and we need to create this S shape. And first we cut in, make it much stronger with a draw brush, and we see we have already raised it in about the correct way. We need to cut quite deep. I could have chosen a different stroke type, but I don't care if it's messy while I'm sculpting, as long as I know what I'm doing here. Make it a little more clean. You can clean up later. Okay, so we see on the top it attaches to the head. In this case, it's not always the case. We had one example where it is not. This is rounded. So you see, I don't use a smooth brush. If I want to round off an edge, I go over with control, so with subtract. And we need to see that this is a border, so I carve in, meaning I'm holding the left button. If I were sculpting with a mouse, but I'm sculpting with a graphics pen, of course. And we see this shape here. Okay, so let's carve in with a crease brush to make the shape more visible. Again, let's do it a little stronger. And okay, so now it's coming along nicely. Yes, needs cleanup, of course. And we see here, when we want to create like this, I need to lower this part, so I can do it with a snake hook brush, and I just grab here and something like that. Okay, so now we have the essential parts established. It looks a little flat in here, I don't like that. So flat means we haven't created enough contrast in our forms. So I just go over with my clay strips brush, and create more contrast in the forms. Yes, this was very good. Check from all sides what happens to the other part, to the other views when I did this. And now I carve in deep so that we really see this concha type. It's a kind of a deep bowl or shell. In German this is named shell. Okay, so okay, this is coming along nicely. So now we need to create these planes. We see here this is a slope down towards helix. So I cut in like this to create this slope, and then go over once to smooth it out. And now again we make the detail size a little smaller to clean up and finish our sculpt. So with the crease brush I now make very clear statements of where these parts are. When we clean up, we make the brush strings smaller. I emphasize this slope here again. We don't think so much about what the names of these things are. It's good when we know, but it's not the central part in sculpting. But we more look how are the planes tilted in space, and we need to try to replicate this best as we can. And then the sculpt makes a clear, strong statement and will be a nice, good sculpt. So let's make it even a little less, make it a little larger. You see, I have a very nice shape, and now I want to make this part here, that's called the anti-tragus, a little larger. And my earlobe, oh, it's deformed a little. I did something which deformed it, no problem, we just correct the mistake. And from here, or maybe even pull a little, correct this. Okay, that looks good. And now we need to make it appear more fleshy, so we make very smooth, and you see, we often like to make these squiggle strokes, since they create a surface that looks more like skin than when I would smooth the whole thing out. I have a little auto smoothing in my brush, I like that. I could turn it off, but I like to have a little of it. Now I want to indicate more that this upper part here is cartilage, as I said, and for that I emphasize these lines, and I do this with a draw brush, but not so strong, and a little smaller. I emphasize this border here, and you see immediately we get the impression that this is made of a harder material than the earlobe. And now it's just cleaning up. Let's pull, we see this cartilage part here goes down, so we emphasize the border up to about here. And now cleaning up, I want to have, as in this example, the Y shape more clearly visible. That was not so good. And you see, you can always correct until it's fine. Okay, now that's... And the last part, since I don't like when it's too untidy, make it using the scrape brush a little. And here, since it was so cute, I smooth. And voila. Okay, so let's just clean up the border here too, and we are finished. Yes, okay. Oops, sorry. Okay, so we see we have sculpted an ear. It looks a little different from this one. I haven't paid too much attention to recreate exactly. But we have created an ear with a correct angle, which is rotated off the side of the head in about 30 degrees, which shows this S-curve in the back side, which shows from the side view the main parts, the helix, the anti-helix, that's this Y shape here, the concha, the tragus, and the lobe. And we took care that we have made this of cartilage, so it shows harder edges, and this here is tissue and fat, and that is a very soft material. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something.